everyone still has some energy left. I'm gonna make it very easy on you because I'm just gonna show you pictures and a funny video. So I hope you will sleep very, very good tonight after seeing this. I'm gonna go back to 2010. I was studying here in Breda at the art school. I studied documentary photography. I was 28 and I had to make an important decision about where I was going to live. All my friends, they already moved out. They went to live in Den Haag or Rotterdam or Amsterdam. And also my fellow students did the same. And I thought my work, what I was making during art school, was mainly about small societies, group behavior. And I noticed that I was looking very much to us as humans, how we still show our primal instincts in a modern society. So I thought, if I want to make more free work, which I hopefully can sell, so I can make a living and find that house. So I decided to move to Hoek van Holland. It's the place where I actually grew up. I lived there for 25 years. It's all the way up into the corner. It's literally the corner of Holland. And although I've lived there for 25 years, I was never able to understand the place. Because I moved to Breda, and I went back every weekend to sleep with my parents. Although I was 26, 27, I still went back every weekend to stay with my parents and do some volunteer work locally. I noticed the longer I was in Breda, the longer I lived here and moved back by train every weekend, and I noticed that the strangeness of this town. I've never really noticed this as a kid or while I lived there, but because of the education and being away for quite a while, I noticed that these strange things that were happening there. So I decided I'm going to move back. I decided to live there for 5 years at least and to rediscover my own hometown. I wanted to have a camera with me all the time. So when I did the shopping, when I was on my bicycle, I always had the camera with me. And I started to keep a sketchbook. It was online. On Facebook I got a lot of followers, so people could see what kind of work I was making. And like, this is my own street. This is my neighbor boy. This is Timon. I made a series about him. In other occasions, I was just riding on my moped and saw these 3 girls on Ux doing some gymnastics. One day I was at the carnival. Every time I found a subject which I thought was, oh wow, this is amazing, I have to do something with this, I would stick with the subject, sometimes for years. But everything is real, by the way. Sometimes I get questions, do you stage anything? But everything is exactly as it is. This was the first picture I took of this club. It's the Scootrangers Maasluis. It's a scootmobile club. And the moment I photographed this club, I said to myself, okay, this is really big. I'm gonna follow them, and I followed them for 3 years. The most things I like are the really normal, everyday situations which you can find in any town in the Netherlands. I specifically choose to not live in a city, but in a town, because a town really represents ourselves as a small society. In a city, we live as individual, we kind of blend in, but in a town, everyone watches each other. In the end, I lived for 5 years in Hoek van Holland, and in the end, people were watching me. I was the odd one out. I was always with my camera. I was photographing everything. I was this strange artist who always took photos of everything, and in the end, people thought that I was a pedophile because I was photographing Timon, my neighbor boy. That's how fast stories can go. And I noticed, like, oh, this is actually how a small society works. This is how group behavior works, or how a herd acts. So it showed how people can still act as a Homo sapien like 200,000 years ago. Our primal instincts are still with us today, but they show themselves as best in a small town, because that's where people still act as a group, and everyone watches each other. So people tend to act as normal as possible. But the funny thing is, like in Dutch, in the Netherlands we have a saying, doe maar gewoon, dan doe je al gek genoeg. Just act normal, it's crazy, then you'll be acting crazy enough. But the funny thing is, the more people try to act as normal as possible, the funnier it actually gets. And that's what was the main thing I did in Hoek van Holland. Now for tonight, I'm going to talk about this primal behavior that we still have in the modern society, how that actually works. How can we look at ourselves on our everyday life when we're waiting for the bus, or when we were drinking our coffee at the coffee table? There's always something out there that shows our primal instincts that we developed 200,000 years ago. The man is the alpha male. The man likes to dominate the world. We see it still today. America's gonna get its first female president, so there's a big change coming. But what I noticed during my photography while photographing men is that in many situations, when a certain occasion occurs, if the first man will put his feet on top of the bar, the other men will follow within around 15-20 seconds. This is actual science. This has been investigated. So, and I noticed around me that everywhere I went, I saw men with their foot on something. And I thought, what's going on? I also studied women, of course. Women mostly stand like this. They choose the more protective way of standing. They want to cover up the important vital parts of our body. Just look at the metro or the train. Women will sit like this. Men will sit like this. We like to show what we have in stock, and we like to, be manly. But then, what also was fascinating about photographing these men is the objects that they choose, from a rock to anything nearby, especially when men are waiting. I actually gave myself the assignment to photograph one of you tonight doing this, but I didn't succeed because I should have brought a pedestal and put it in the middle of the room over there, and it would have worked, but there was no objects, so we have to stick with these pictures. And there are several theories. Most men will say, yeah, we do this because we want to air our testicles, or we want to balance our body, but I think it's also doministic behavior. It is a way of men dominating the world. You can compare it to a hunter that shot a lion. When he goes on the picture with his trophy lion, he will put his feet on top of the lion and present like, this is my lion, I shot this lion. Or a soccer player who sets his foot on a football. It's claiming your ground. It's showing your dominance. Now, I've got hundreds of these, but especially this one, the wheelchair. I really like the wheelchair. This is one of the highest so far, and this is up until now the highest I've found so far. The most interesting thing is everyone knows we copy each other. If one person yawns, the other person has the urge to yawn as well. But also when we sit here, or when we're standing somewhere, we copy each other. And in this case, there are two men. I was observing them. The right one was standing there first. Then the left man, of course, he wants to be even more dominant, so he chooses a higher layer. This is about the male dominant behavior, but let's talk about the herd, about our behavior, that we still want to be part of a herd or a group. The special thing about human beings is that we are the animal that likes to act in a group as well as in a herd. Like monkeys, they're mostly group animals, but we as men also like to be in a herd. Like we are in a herd when we're following a certain trend or a fashion. That's our behavior in a herd. Well, in this case, I've taken out the Scoomobile Club as a herd and a group. They both have the same ingredients. Well, the Scoomobile Club, there are 15 members. The youngest is 49, the oldest is 92. And there are 14 women and just one man. And this one man is 92 years old. He's actually the oldest member of the group. They take tours. This is the group. This is the herd. They actually do a migration every year because they go on a holiday. They put up all the Scoomobiles in the truck. They go with a taxi themselves, by the way. They're not in the truck. And then they take tours. For 7 days, every day they have a tour of 40 kilometers at a maximum speed of 12 kilometers an hour. And that takes them an entire day. And the funny thing is, in every herd, if you look at sheep, there's always this black sheep. There's always the odd one out that doesn't really fit into the group. And in this case, it's Riet. That's the woman at the back. The rule in the group is everyone has to leave two mobility scooters between each other. But Riet, she's always a little bit further away, like here. And nobody really likes Riet. I loved her the most. You have to imagine this is a group of 15 women, or 14 women and 1 man. And 14 women in the age of around 50, between 70. I hope you can imagine what kind of circumstances that get this group into. They all have something wrong with their body, so they're always complaining the entire day about what's wrong with their body. And they talk about each other around each other's back. So there's always something going on, and there's always some tension going on. And Riet, she was the one who was always the most honest. She would say what she think, and well, the others didn't really like it. So that's more symbolic at these pictures, that she's always a little bit further behind. And the sad thing is, Riet has been voted out of the group last year. Yeah, it's been really... This is a wrong turn. Sometimes they have to... and there's even a lost scooter in there somewhere. But I follow them everywhere. I follow them on holiday, I follow them on the beach, and I was always with them on my bicycle. This is close to Hoek of Holland. This is where they go to the other side of the channel. And I ended up in the hospital eventually, and I had to have surgery because I got a hernia. Here, if you look closely, you see me standing there on the right. Because I never staged anything, I had to catch up with the group, went in front of them, bicycling like this. And I saw this good picture, so I would climb on the ladder, they would pass me. I climbed up, down again, get my bicycle, and I had to catch them up again. I would do that like for 10 times, 20 times during those 40 kilometers. I have no condition, I don't do any sports. So in the end, well, it was killing. So that's why I also had to stop. But I got the pictures I wanted. Here I'm in the rear view mirror, if you look really, really closely. And there's Riet in the mirror as well. Then I'm going to talk about the urges we have as people, and I've chose work for this about a certain part of the dunes in Hoek of Holland, where a population of meerkats live. In Holland we call them stokstaartjes. They're called the meerkats because these men, they go up and down the entire day. They go up and down, they disappear, they come up again, they disappear and come up again. And when I was young and I was with my mother on the beach, I was probably 16 years old, and we were just next to the naked beach, and I remember asking my mom, what's going on in these dunes? We have like maybe 5 kilometers of dunes, and there's just one 500 meters of dunes where you see men naked standing up and going down, standing up. And my mom told me these are the meerkats. And they've been around for 25 years, and they've always been at the naked beach. But now they've closed down the naked beach, so they had to migrate. And the whole group of meerkats migrated to the south part of the dunes. Of course, if you tried, they wanted to stop this whole thing, the meerkats thing, because there were group orgies and stuff like that going on. So they put barbed wire in it. But of course, if you want to try to solve a problem, the problem just goes to another place. But you can see here to the right, you see these small houses, you can see some kid toys. And now the meerkats chose these dunes as their new habitat. And the people in these houses, they pay 60,000 euros for a small house, and they have to look at naked men the entire day. They complained, and the meerkat population got their natural enemy, because it is allowed to stand in the dunes as long as you keep your pants on. So the police has a specific job to find the naked ones. But they make... If you see this picture, you can see the man on the left there. That's the same man on the left here. And the horses are just over the dunes, and he's already putting his pants back down. It's like a cat and mouse game. I photographed the meerkats for about 1 year. I was sitting between them in the dunes, with my pants on, of course. I didn't want to get a ticket from the police. I photographed them for a year, and then I discovered photography isn't enough to really understand the behavior of these men. So I decided to film them, and I filmed them now for 4 years. I've got about 80 hours of material, and I'm currently studying all this material also together with a biologist, Kees Moeilijker. Maybe some of you know him from his necrophile, homophile duck that was raped next to his office in Rotterdam. And he's studying together with me the behavior of these meerkats, because what you see here is actually a showcase of our primal needs as men to, well, in a way, reproduce ourselves. And they do this mainly by body language. What we're looking at is a gay cruising area, for the ones who haven't really noticed yet, but this is a gay cruising area. So I thought, and the biologist also said, this is the perfect occasion to study these men about how this system works. How does this actually work? Well, what you see here is you have two kinds of meerkats. You have the walking ones and the standing ones, to say it basically. You see the alpha male there that's standing with his arms around him, and you see the other meerkats, they're coming into the habitat. And sometimes they'll be walking for hours from the north to the south, from the north to the south. Sometimes they will stop, they will stand for a while, and they'll just do nothing, so they'll sit and stand up again. And especially the one on the left here, that's the alpha male. I've filmed him for 2 years, and he always on this dune. That's his dune. He always claims that dune. You'll see two men, and actually the one on the left is interested in the one on the right. But you can't really see it in this quality, but they're constantly avoiding each other's eyesight. They're just shy, but actually they're interested in each other. But how it works, the meerkats that are standing, they're available for other men. So they'll be standing in the dunes, like this case. He can choose out of two men. And if one of these men is interested in this man, what I filmed most is that the guy will show his interest by approaching the other male, sit down, wait for a couple of minutes, and if the other meerkat joins him, then they'll make a small talk. And if the talk is nice, if they like each other, one meerkat will stand up and walk into the bushes you see here below. And the other meerkat will follow within a minute. That's the funny thing. And if everyone knows what they're doing there, but they're still doing it very secretly. Here you can see how close they are at the normal society. You can see them walking there. But the interesting is that it's really not about the sex in the dunes, because I've filmed them for years now, and I've only filmed like 2 or 3 occasions that there was actually a successful meeting. They're just mainly there for the excitement, for the idea of finding another man and approaching another man. Last year, or this is 2 years ago, I finally got the chance to film the police. And they have a system. You can see the guy is having a phone in his hand. And I don't know this as a fact, but it's been told to me that they have this WhatsApp group. That when the police comes, they will inform the WhatsApp group, and all the meerkats will put on their pants. This is a way they really resemble the actual meerkat that lives in Africa. There's always one meerkat that stands guard, and that searches for danger, for predators. Here you can see some people enjoying their dessert. And this is your really classical meerkat. The biologist Case actually also compared this to the pink flamingo, the way he walks. You know, hands on the back. They also touch their penis regularly to keep it at a certain size, so they can show what they have in stock to other meerkats. Well, I'm still currently editing all this because it's hours and hours of material. But I hope in the end to make a nature documentary, and maybe Sir David Attenborough will actually do the voice. I have no high expectations, but that could actually be the end result. So I hope, in a way, I showed some primal instincts we all have through this photography. And well, thank you very much for your attention.